Progress monitoring. It's important for you to remember the purpose of progress monitoring. The purpose of progress monitoring is to determine if students are making sufficient progress and to evaluate the effectiveness of instruction. Progress monitoring is done between benchmark windows. The rate at which we progress monitor each student is different depending on their level of needs. When progress monitoring, you're going to look at three things: the composite score, the color of days, and the color for the TRC assessment for each student. I'll explain in greater detail later in the video how to choose the correct DIBELS measure that needs to be progress monitored and the rate at which you will progress monitor them. There are only 5 DIBELS progress monitoring measures. LNF is not included in progress monitoring. However, you will continue to support students in learning letter names during core instruction, and progress monitoring can be done on paper and pencil. It's just not done on the device. If you'll also notice at the bottom of the page where you see the asterisk, it says that DORF, you only use one passage when progress monitoring. It's also important to remember that when you're progress monitoring DORF, to maintain the order of the passages to preserve their relative difficulty levels. Students who show up as red are well below benchmark. These students need intensive support to make progress. The rate at which you should progress monitor these students is every 10 days. That's been defined as 9 days of instruction, and on the 10th day, progress monitor. Yellow students are below benchmark. They are also probably referred to as your bubble students. They are likely to need strategic support. They are to be progress monitored every 20 days. 19 days of instruction, and on the 20th day, progress monitor. Green students are at or above benchmark. They are likely to succeed with core support. These students are to be progress monitored once a grading period. That can be defined as approximately during the 4th or 5th week of the quarter. To begin progress monitoring, select a student from the class list. Select Progress Monitoring from the Student Assessment selection screen that looks like this. Teachers should only progress monitor 1 to 2 measures at a time. These are determined by the lowest score at benchmark. You should continue to move back a level in skills until you find a student's proficiency level. You will begin your first progress monitoring at the last non-proficient level. For example, if Susie benchmarked as below grade level on NWF, the teacher would then progress monitor on PSF to determine proficiency level of that skill. If non-proficient, she would progress monitor on FSF. If found proficient there, she would begin progress monitoring at PSF. If DORF is determined to be the progress monitoring skill, the teacher can go back and use other grade level passages to determine proficiency level in DORF. Days should be progress monitored separately than the fluency measures because days is a comprehension measure. Progress monitor according to the DIBELS composite score and the TRC level. So technically, you could have students who are being progress monitored at different rates depending on their levels in DIBELS and their TRC scores. For example, if John's composite score is red and his TRC reading level is yellow, he would progress monitor DIBELS every 10 days and be progress monitored in TRC every 20 days. To begin progress monitoring, you're going to select the assessment that you want to progress monitor. The device is going to default to whatever is grade level appropriate, but you need to choose what is appropriate for that student. So, like I said earlier in the other slide, you're going to have to go back and find where that student's deficiencies are. Then you'll select the assessment that you're going to progress monitor from the drop-down menu and tap Assess. Select a form and tap OK. If you select a measure that is not assessed at the grade level, the device alerts you, and that's okay. Just click OK. For DORF, select the box next to out-of-grade forms to assess all 20 probes for each grade level. Forms may be used more than once. Each administration is marked with a tally. Select a form the student has not already seen. Tap OK to start the probe. The same additional information features are available as on the benchmark results screen. Record response patterns, students' motivation, review the probe, or view activities. Tap Progress Monitor to return to the student's progress monitoring screen. There are no cut points for progress monitoring, so there's no status bar with a runner as with the benchmark results screen. The history screen shows the list of assessment forms a student completed for a measure along with dates and scores. Both benchmark and progress monitoring forms are listed. Benchmark results are color-coded according to score levels. Tap the graph icon to return to the progress monitoring graph. Tap Student to return to the Student Assessment Selection screen. TRC Progress Monitoring Selection. Select a reading level to assess the student. The device recommends a level based on the student's grade and the time of year. Choose from the book list. You do not have to go with what the device recommends. You need to choose what is appropriate for that student. Please keep in mind a student only needs to read 100 to 150 words during progress monitoring when a student is at level E or above. First, you need to set the beginning of the text, so you can choose which page you want to start on. So select the page. An accuracy and fluency reading record can start at the beginning or in the middle of any page of the book. Tap and hold the first word the student will read if in the middle of the page. Select whether to assess a timed or untimed administration. A timed administration will produce a word correct per minute fluency score. So this is what you're usually going to choose. Most of the time you're going to pick a timed administration. Follow along as the student reads and score the text as the student reads. Once the student comes to the end of the text or a good stopping place for the reading record, tap Done. The set ending screen appears. The assessor taps and holds the last word read to place the bracket. The TRC Progress Monitoring Results screen looks similar to the one for benchmark. The difference lies in how comprehension is checked. Select Oral Comp to administer the follow-up comprehension task using the rubric. Some progress monitoring books do not have text-specific questions. We use 4 general questions that work with a large and growing library so schools can start progress monitoring without purchasing additional books. These questions are found as TRC oral comprehension questions when progress monitoring. One question from each of the 4 areas, literal, inference, critical, and creative, should be asked. Progress monitoring books from Sundance, Newbridge do contain a card for each book with comprehension questions. 2 of these questions were selected to be used for the written comprehension piece. These can be found under the mTSS and K3 Read to Achieve tab on the home page of the GCS Elementary Instructional Site. Remember, written comprehension questions are required for progress monitoring. However, there's not a place to enter the comprehension scores. This information needs to be used when determining instruction. Student answers will be kept in their portfolio. Entering the day's reports for progress monitoring. So from the student summary view, click the graph icon under Days to open the day's progress monitoring graph. Click Enter Result to enter the results mode. Tap on the appropriate cells to enter the date and scores. Click the Date column to see the calendar pop up. Click the Form column to see a list of all the day's forms. You need to enter the total correct and total incorrect for each student. The score is calculated automatically. Tap Save Results to save the results. To remove a score, tap the blue pencil symbol next to the progress monitoring score. Click the link to delete entry and click Confirm. Tapping Cancel will exit out of the results mode with no scores saved. To exit the progress monitoring graph, tap the graph icon again and tap the X in the top right corner.